There are 3 nice guy habits that are secretly pushing your wife away, and gone unchecked, they're going to covertly destroy your marriage and push your wife into another man's arms. And you're going to be left thinking, what the hell happened? Today I'm going to highlight the 3 deadly nice guy habits and how to eradicate them. But before we go there, let me tell you a little story about James. James reached out to me just over a year ago when his wife said she was done. They hadn't had sex in over a year and they were fighting constantly and she was blaming him for everything. I'll never forget the first time I saw James when he showed up for his call. He was very upset and frustrated because anytime he had an argument with his wife, which was twice a week, he'd lose his voice and didn't know what to say. He'd shut down and he confided in me that he felt emasculated. His wife was blaming him for everything and he was sick and tired of feeling like she was throwing rocks at him and putting him down the whole time. It broke my heart to see this really nice guy who loved his wife and kids more than anything on the brink of divorce. Well, long story short, he was accepted into the program, and after only 4 weeks of applying the tips that I'm going to be teaching you today, he and his wife were intimate with each other again after over a year of no sex. And James isn't alone in getting incredible results. I've worked with hundreds of men to help them reclaim their power, reconnect with their wife, and save their marriage. And it all starts by eradicating these 3 deadly nice guy habits. Number 1, being a people pleaser. A people pleaser is someone who goes to great lengths to satisfy and accommodate other people's needs, desires, and expectations, often at the expense of their own well-being. So a practical example of this would be a dad who is picking his kids up all the time, driving around at crazy times to keep his kids happy, while also doing more than his fair share around the house to keep his wife happy. On the face of things, it looks like that you're just being an amazing dad and husband, but underneath the surface there's a deep sense of inadequacy and insecurity, and when you don't get the appreciation that you so badly want for your wife, resentment starts to grow. And this is really toxic for the relationship. So where did this need for approval and appreciation come from? It more than likely came from your childhood. You were raised in an environment where love and approval were conditional. So you had to behave a certain way. And it's just your parents didn't know any better. So you had to be a good boy to get love. And I guarantee you, you were not allowed to express your emotions because if you did, it was looked down upon. You learned as a kid to get love and acceptance, you had to keep everyone happy and ignore your own needs. It worked for you as a kid, but it's not working for you in your marriage, and you know this because despite your best efforts, you feel more disconnected from your wife than ever before. Here's the thing, your wife doesn't want a man who is waiting on her hand and foot. She wants a man who is clear on who he is and what he stands for. She wants a leader who doesn't water himself down for anyone. She wants you to be your authentic self, but up until this point, you weren't clear that you weren't being your authentic self, that you were running on subconscious patterns that were programmed in you from your childhood. And here's the thing, authenticity is sexy as hell. Research conducted by Dr. Mark Leary, professor of psychology and neuroscience of Duke University, found that authentic individuals had more connected, more fulfilling relationships based on trust and intimacy. So the takeaway from this is it's important for you to be your authentic self. It's okay to say no to your kids and to your wife because you have needs. And when you start meeting these needs and putting yourself first, you'll be able to show up as that amazing dad and husband that you want to be. Number 2, no clear values. What do you stand for? What are your top 5 values? You should be able to answer this in just a couple of seconds, but the fact of the matter is most men haven't taken the time to consider their values, and this in essence makes them a rudderless boat. You're lacking clear direction and you're at the mercy of other people's needs and wants. Me, I stand for love, joy, freedom, integrity, and growth, and because I'm so clear on my values, they permeate into every area of my life. So for instance, freedom is really important to me, and what freedom means to me is the freedom to express myself. So I'm always just being myself, my authentic self, and that gives other people also the opportunity to be themselves, so they feel really comfortable around me. And this is very beneficial in my role as a coach. When people show up to my calls, they feel like they're not being judged because I create a safe space for them and they can share what's going on for them, voice their concerns without feeling being judged. So freedom is really important, and because I'm really clear on my values, it ensures that I'm showing up in a congruent way for my wife and kids on a day-to-day basis, which gives me a real clear direction which my wife loves. And guess what? When you know who you are and what you stand for, your wife is going to love it too, because understanding your personal values is crucial in building your sense of self, and having a strong sense of self is really key when it comes to reconnecting with your wife. Now I really want to help you with this, brother, so what I've done is I've created a free cheat sheet which you can download below in the description, which is going to help you get clarity on who you are, what you stand for. There's 8 questions. Fill it out, print it off, and then put it somewhere where you can see it every day as a reminder for who you are and what you stand for. Number 3, seeking external validation. Do you believe you're only of value if you're able to provide for your family? Is your value tied to your paycheck or to what people say and think about you? This is something that we all suffer from as men. I know, I've been there and I've got the t-shirt, and I want to tell you a little bit about that. So my experience of my need for external validation, and we have to go all the way back to 2019 where my business had failed. I'd started a business with my wife, and after 8 years our business had failed and I felt like a complete loser. It was so important for me to be able to provide for my family, to be able to show up and to be successful. And unfortunately in 2019 my business tanked. So I got our family into $50,000 of debt. I felt like a complete loser. I couldn't pay the bills. My little daughter was 2 years old. I'd started my business when I was 29 with the whole premise of by the time I'm ready for kids, I'll have a stable home and stable income. And guess what? Literally in the year when my daughter was born, Lily, let's put a little picture of Lily up here. When she was born, my business started to fall apart. And even now I get emotional when I think about it because it was a really painful time. I couldn't pay the bills. I just wanted to be there for my daughter, for my wife, to show up, to be the man and the husband that they needed and wanted. And I was really struggling. And basically in 2019, it all came together. The business completely crashed. We had to leave our office. I couldn't pay the bills and I felt like a complete loser. I still remember walking out in the streets with my daughter, Lily, during business hours because I didn't have any business anymore. I was looking for a job, and I remember people were looking at me and I was feeling like such a piece of shit. Like people were just judging at me. Look at that guy. He doesn't have a job. He's out with his kids. And this was obviously just a story I was telling myself in my head, but it was just really, really painful. A very tough time. And I felt like a complete loser. And so my dad came to visit. So let's see if my video editor can put a picture up here of my dad. This is my dad. Isn't he just gorgeous? I love my dad. He means the world to me. He's such a big role model. And so he had a very successful business with 30 employees. He built it up in Ireland, a construction company, which unfortunately went belly up in 2008 with the financial crash. But anyway, he means a lot. He means the world to me. I love my dad. And he came over to me to visit us in 2019 when we were $50,000 in debt. I can still remember it really clearly. I felt really low, like I was a piece of shit. And I remember we were in the kitchen and we had no money. We were in debt. And I remember my dad even brought over 500 Swiss francs to give to us. Even though he wasn't doing that great himself, he gave us money, which just shows you the kind of man my dad is. And I was in the kitchen and I was cooking dinner for me and my dad and the family, and I just was feeling really low. And my dad just turns to me and he goes, "Luke, I'm proud of you." And that even now today still kicks me in the feels, it hits me in the feels, because my dad taught me such an important lesson that day. I was so focused on wanting to be successful, to show up in the world, to show everybody what I could do. And a guy who I looked up to so much in my lowest moment where I felt like a piece of shit and like I'd failed, told me, how great I am and that how he was proud of me. And this is going to be something that I'm going to take to my grave, a lesson from my dad. And if he watches this video, I hope this will bring a smile to his face as well. It was such a huge lesson because I learned in that moment that what matters to us as men, guys, it's our heart, how we show up. It's not your bank account. So I know there's some guys out there watching this video today. Please let this sink in. I hope this hits home for you guys. You are not your bank account. You are so much more. It's your values, who you are as a man, how you show up, the effort that you put in, how you show up for your family. That's who makes who you are, not your bank account. What I want you to take away from this video is that your value as a man is intrinsic, not extrinsic. So stop looking externally for validation, either from your wife or other people. You are enough. You just need to get clear on your intrinsic value. If you got some value out of this video, smash the like button and watch this next video on 5 tips for nice guys to reconnect with your wife.